Hi everyone, Ryan bringing you another lesson, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to give you my top 7 things that every drummer should have at every gig. So these are things that I found over the years of gigging that I've really needed, or in time of need, having them there has saved me for the gig. That's what I'm going to share with you today, and I hope you find it useful. So let's get into it. So with every gig, I take to me this little bag. Now, this is just like a toiletries bag. I got this for $3 from Kmart. So whatever your home brand store is, you can grab this, or you can grab like a little pencil case, and you just chuck it in the flap of your stick bag, or you could chuck it in a hardware bag or cymbal bag, and this kind of has all of the goodies in it. So that's a tip. So the first thing that you must have is earplugs. So I use these often, all the time on gigs, especially contemporary gigs or loud styles of music, or if you're competing with Marshall stacked amps and a bass player that has effects, you're gonna be hitting loud, or they're gonna be hitting loud, and so when you're up on stage, that's a lot of noise that's coming into your ears. So I highly recommend wearing earplugs. If you buy good quality ones, they'll have clarity to them. I know you get those foam ones and it just sounds like muffle, but if you buy good quality ones, or even if you get them molded, I know it's expensive, but it is a good investment. I personally find these Alpine ones do the trick for me, but there's Heroes or a bunch of other brands. I'm sure you can find some stuff on Amazon, things like that. Being a musician, we want to be doing this for as many years to come as we can, so damaging our ears is not going to be something that we want to do for our career. So earplugs, number 1. The second thing in the bag of goodies is a drum key. So obviously you're going to need this to tune your drums, to adjust pedals or stools sometimes. This is definitely a must-have, and especially if you're playing on a house kit or someone else's drum kit, if something sounds completely different or feels completely different, you're going to need a drum key to change that, tune it, or edit the height or angle or whatever. So drum key is number 2. The third one is a hi-hat clutch. So, funny story, when I started going to university, my very first ensemble session, I rocked up and I didn't have a hi-hat clutch, and I just thought that there would be one there. But it turns out there wasn't, so I had to play the whole first ensemble session with my hi-hats just down with no movement, and yeah, I found that quite embarrassing. I didn't really know how to deal with it, so yeah, it happens to all of us. But hi-hat clutch is definitely something important, especially when you're playing on other people's drums, or if you're playing on a backline drum kit. Sometimes they don't give you clutches, or the clutches might feel very different to play with. So super easy, grab a clutch and just chuck it in your little bag, and you always have them with you. Number 4 is cymbal felts and sleeves. So these are super useful. Again, a number of times I've rocked up to a gig and there's no felt or sleeves. A hack is you can get a piece of paper and fold it in half a few times, and then kind of break a hole and put it down over it, and that'll protect your cymbal a little bit, but it's still going to be a little bit of metal on metal. And obviously cymbals, we want to take good care of them because they're our prized possessions. So if you bring a couple of these and just have them sitting in there, then you'll always be able to chuck them on. And just don't forget to take them off, because it's easy to leave them on. So I usually, if I do that, I'll set a reminder on my phone for the end of the gig, and I'll say, remember felts and sleeves, and it'll pop up, because obviously you check your phone to see the time at the end of the set, or reply to messages or whatever, and you'll see that and grab them. So that's another little tip for you. So that's number 4, cymbal felts and sleeves. Number 5 is a pencil. A pencil is super useful, especially if you've got charts or you're reading music, or if you have set lists, you might want to write down some notes. And often before a gig, people will say, oh, let's open up that section for a solo, or cut that tune, or that tune, let's play that faster this time. So you want to be able to remember those things, and often none of us have perfect memory. Some of us do, they're lucky, but most of us don't. So having a pencil is great for writing in those notes, and then as soon as it might come to the 4th song of the set, and you put up your chart, and it says in the top, count in slower, or count in faster, or don't forget these hits, or add an extra repeat around these sections. you're there and you're not going to be the one that messes it up and you'll get booked again. So, pencil, number 5. Alrighty, items 6 and 7 are slightly larger items that you can't exactly fit in your stick bag or your toiletries bag or your pencil case, but I think they're really important for each and every gig. So, number 6 is a carpet or a rug. So this has saved me on numerous occasions at multiple gigs, and this is it. Nothing flashy. I got this from the shed and our family didn't need it, so I said, cool, that's going to be my gig rug. So when you play gigs indoors or on hard surfaces or uneven surfaces, often if you put all your stands on, your drums could be really uncomfortable and at weird angles. So this is why a rug or a carpet is great. And often with the bass drum as well, it'll stop the bass drum sliding, especially if you have a kick pedal that doesn't have the heel plate. Then often those pedals, as lightweight and great for transport as they are, if you're playing hard into the bass drum will slide a bit. But if you have this carpet or rug, you can just turn the rubber stoppers on the bass drum a little bit and the spikes will come out. And if the spikes are on your carpet, no problem, because you're not scratching anyone else's surface, because that could get you into a bit of trouble. So if your spikes are going into your own carpet, then no problem at all. So I usually put this in my hardware bag, or I just leave it in the car, and then that way, if you rock up at a venue to set up that you've never been to before, and they don't have a carpet or rug or a soft surface that you can play on, then you can just go and grab your rug or carpet from your car. And worst case scenario, it just stays there, but it's always good to have one. So I just leave this in my car, and that is number 6, a carpet or a rug. Alright, number 7, lucky last, is a trolley. So this has saved me so many times from so many gigs, loading in heavy gear, especially if you have to park far away or the venue is really hard to get to, then these things are the best. This is definitely one of the best investments I've done. It was $50, I think, from Bunnings Warehouse, but you'll be able to get a trolley from any warehouse store near you. And this is a top lift trolley, but it doesn't really matter of the brand. You just want something that's going to be sturdy and can fit your gear on. So this one's great. The bottom folds out like so, and this top bit can fold up as well, and you just wheel that to your gigs. I also use an Oki strap, just like this, just to tie around it so that can clip on to stop your drums falling off. The other great thing about these is they're so thin, so they're really slimline and you can fit them in anyone's car. Often, I used to use a flatbed trolley, which is one of the ones with the big base plate. They were great, but I found that loading them in a friend's car, if I was carpooling with other musos, they were the first thing to go if we didn't have room, and I was like, oh damn, now I have to load in all my gear. So I found they were a bit too big and bulky, but these are great, and you can stack everything on top of each other. So if I have a small jazz gig, if I just have a kick drum, my small kick drum, a snare drum, maybe a tom, and a hardware bag, I can fit everything on here and load in one go. Just chuck a cymbal bag and stick bag on my back, and it's really great. So these are super light, about 4 kilograms, and they fit in nicely. So I highly recommend them. A trolley is definitely something everyone should have. So number 7 is a trolley. Well, there you go. There's my 7 things that every drummer should have at every gig. So obviously there's a bunch of other things. There was a bunch of extras that I thought about putting in, like brushes and mallets, a wallet for your snare to dampen it, but I found those weren't as necessary as the 7 that I came up with. So I found that I know there might be a bunch of others, but if you have anything that you think I missed, chuck a comment down below and I'd love to know and take it to my next gig. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed today's video, please hit like, subscribe, and turn bell notifications on so that you don't miss another drum lesson. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you'd like to discuss, or you'd like me to make a video about something, drop it in the comments and I'll get to each and every one of those. I've created a PDF, just a simple Word document, 1 to 7, with all the items we covered today. And if you'd like to take that to your first few gigs as a checklist, by all means, feel free. So you can download that. I'll put a link in the description and you can get that for free. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you next week for a new drum lesson.